Hey everyone, what's up? Yeah, it's early in the morning. I'm just gonna say that. Um, Hold on, here we go. Put that up. There we go. I do apologize off the bat if there's any kind of lag or anything. As I said in the last stream that I did, I have a new XBS modem from Xfinity, which is supposed to run on 1 gig, which is higher than 7 MBs, if you will. So it's supposed to be faster, but depending on how that works, it's up to the user, whether it's faster through the internet or Wi-Fi. I don't really know. But yeah, you see the title here, and I just wanted to come on here and kind of discuss some theories that have been going around the Brony community, the MLP, Friendship is Magic, Equestria Girls fan base and community recently, and over the past several months, if not year. Um, because ever since, okay, I'll put it this way. When Roller Coaster of Friendship came out this past weekend, we saw, well, how do I put this? One of the things that we saw basically, um, and again, I do apologize if there's any lag or anything. Like I said, I got a new XBS system, a modem from Xfinity. It's running. It's my laptop here is connected through an internet cable to it, and for some reason, it just briefly, when it feels like it, goes to. I don't know what it is. It kind of goes to when you go to a page and it's loading a page. It kind of goes off briefly, like just for a millisecond. It goes not connected to identify, and then back to network or whatever the network is called for your internet. So it's basically like a millisecond, a few second kind of deal. It's like the internet's still on, but now it's just like it's trying to connect, and I don't know why it does that. Hopefully, that issue will be addressed in the future. Um, anyway, though, like I was saying, um, when Roller Coaster of Friendship came out um, this past week, um, basically, well, I was just looking at something there for a second on Arrow Mountain's Twitter page. She's got a GIF from an anime that she just put up, so I'd like to know what that is. Where that anime, what anime that's from. Looks interesting. Anyway, when Roller Coaster of Friendship came out, one of the things we noticed that kind of got the plot going was some magic had seeped into Vignette, who was the new antagonist, who does get redeemed. Vignette's phone. It gets into Vignette's phone and enables her to basically change what she doesn't like around her. Like she'll take a picture, and if she doesn't like what she sees, she can use her phone to change it to what she wants. She can even suck certain items or individuals into the phone and transport them into another area. I guess you could say one of the funny things about that, if you will, was basically how 5 of the humane 7 thought they were transported into the phone, but or was sucked into and transported into the phone, when in fact they were actually transported into another room in the amusement park, into a white room in well, basically they weren't transported into the phone, even though it looked like they were, because Vignette would create holograms of how she wanted the five members of the Humane Seven to look in her image, if you will. And again, I guess you can find it funny and ironic because when she sucked them in, she didn't suck them in to be part of the phone and be trapped in the phone. No, she sucked them in and transported them to another room so they'd be out of the way. And I guess you could say what's funny about that and kind of laughable about it, if you will, is you think the same thing for a while until you see Applejack looking for them, and then she's hearing Twilight's voice coming from both the phone and from the room that's right next to her. She's running past or running by right then and there, and when she opens the door, that's when it kind of dawns on them. And of course, Sunset's not too happy about it, but it dawns on them that, oh, we were trapped in a white room this whole time, you know. And I don't know if Rainbow Dash or one of them pretty much says that they're so accustomed to something like this happening to them that they're so accustomed to be trapped in some kind of device or magical item that, you know, they're used to being inside the item. They're not used to being transported. So it's kind of weird. So it's kind of weird if you think about it, but it's also kind of funny. But getting back on point here, one of the things that fans of well, I was just looking. Well, here's the thing. I was looking at a post. I think it was at Equestria Daily's message board, and I think somebody even brought this up at the MLP forums. Was basically the magic that's in Equestria. I think it was mostly at the MLP forums, but one of the things they would ask people was, what did they find weird about? What are some of the weird things they find about, or what are some of the things that they find weird about Equestria girls? Like, what are some of the strange things that stand out that should be addressed, but they're not? And one of the things that, you know, they pointed out was how equestrian magic from the Friendship is Magic world, you know, is seemingly at times now just a part of everyday normal life, even though there are at times that they will address it, they will mention it. It feels like now it's just part of normal day life, you know. So obviously the question fans have is, when and where would this be addressed finally? Like, what is causing this? You know, what is causing this magic to continue to seep in? Now, let's not forget one thing. I didn't see Legend of Everfree. I didn't see that movie. But I did see a clip of the ending. And at the end, when Sunset's asking Twi, the human Twilight, you know, exactly where all that magic came from, she, of all characters, should know or have an idea of where that magic's coming from. And she probably does, but I think what she's asking is, where is it emanating from? How is it seeping into this world? And we see a crack in what looked like where a statue was, or a pillar was. We see a crack in a pillar or something like that. And we see this magic floating in from Equestria. We see this equestrian magic floating in from the Friendship is Magic world. So, you know, so the biggest question that I think the biggest question is, when are the girls going to figure that out? When are the Rainbooms, as they call themselves, I guess, going to figure this out? And I think, here's my theory. It all has to do with Sunset. And soon it's going to have to deal with Twi. Here's why. Even though Sunset Shimmer is pretty much accustomed to living in the human world of Equestria, and Twi apparently down the line is supposed to, in an upcoming special, travel to Friendship is Magic Equestria to see what the differences are, or whatever the differences are between the worlds and of course her friends, which also probably means we'll get Pony Sunset once again. Maybe even more. But here's my theory. My theory is that Sunset being in the human world is what's causing the magic to continue to leak in. That even though they could probably find a way to seal the cracks or any kind of cracks that would allow the magic to seep in to the human world of Equestria, it's still going to find its way in there. It's still going to find a way in, even if they seal up that crack that we saw at the end of Legend of Everfree, where the magic was seeping in from. You know, even if they seal that up and they seal any other possible cracks that allow it to happen, it's still going to find its way in. And my theory is, I believe that Sunset Shimmer being in the human world is the key. I've said this before. I'm sure others have mentioned it, but I think she's the key. I think her being in the human world is what's still continuously causing the magic to seep in. Now you might be asking yourself, well, how is that possible? Well, think about it. Sunset has been there long enough to where pretty much there are times she might forget she's a pony. Heck, some people are putting up images where she's riding on a freaking horse on AJ's farm in the human Equestria world. But what I'm getting at, excuse me, but what I'm getting at is, my theory on the situation. My theory on the situation is, I think Sunset's got to go back. That's what it's leaning towards. And not only does she have to go back, but the mirror itself has to be destroyed. The mirror itself on the Friendship is Magic side has to be destroyed. That's the only way, when you think about it. That's the only way for possibly the magic to stop seeping into the human world. You know, it's the only way. When you think about it, it's the only way it's going to stop it from leaking into the human world. Now, you might ask, well, how is that possible? How is, Sunset going back going to prevent that? Well, again, I'm not saying it won't. Again, it's a theory. But think about this. Since she brought the crown over in the first movie, since Twilight has gone back and forth in 2 movies in a row, 3 if you count the ending of the third one. And now, as well as you look at all this magic that's seeping in and all these magical items that seem to be appearing and being discovered in the human equestrian world, one has to think that sooner or later there's got to be a resolve. There's got to be a solution to put an end to this. And my theory is Sunset probably will have to go back. Because when you think about it, even though she's portrayed as a teenager, maybe a senior, junior, whatever in high school, in actuality, she's older than her friends. Because because of the fact that when she goes back to Ponyville, goes back to Canterlot in the Friendship is Magic world, she's an adult mare. She's an adult unicorn. So technically, she's older than her friends over there. And I think, in a sense, is a little older than Twilight, even in a friendship world. In the friendship world, I should say. So, in a way, my opinion, my theory is the only way this magic will be stopped from continuously seeping in is if Sunset goes back. If Sunset goes back, and when she goes back, that causes all the magic that's seeped in, and that's seeped into the equestrian human world to go back with her. In other words, she goes back, that magic goes back with her, because they won't have any kind of connection to the Friendship is Magic world if one of the Friendship is Magic world characters, in this case Sunset, is no longer there, but she's back in the Friendship is Magic world of Equestria. I know it sounds strange, but that's a theory. That's a straight up theory that I think is, in reality, something that could actually work. I think that in reality, it's something that could really wrap things up, because depending on when Friendship is Magic ends, whether it's season 9 or season 10, and there's a lot of information going around that there might be a 10th season. We don't really know yet. Right now, it looks like season 9 could be it, because they got the big bad Grogar as the antagonist there. But then again, they might be saving up for something even bigger, antagonist-wise, as far as season 10 goes. So we'll have to, wait and see what they have planned. Again, we probably won't get any kind of info whatsoever until at least BronyCon and maybe BabsCon of next year. Between these two times, maybe even Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con in a few weeks, we probably won't get any kind of information as to a possible 10th season until we get to, I would say, at least BabsCon next year. We might get something this year. We might get something at San Diego, New York. But between these next 3 events, the Comic-Cons and BronyCon, and the 4th event, which is at the big start of next year, or in the spring of next year, which is BabsCon, I don't think we'll get any information until around possibly that time, between BabsCon and BronyCon 2019. I guarantee you that's when we'll get information. Most likely it'll be BabsCon. It will be, because, we'll be right at the end of season 8. Just around the corner would be season 9. So, actually, we would be at the end of season 8. Or we would have already gone by it. In fact, actually, what I'm saying is, by the time BabsCon comes around next year, we'll just be right around the corner of season. We will be, I should say, right around the corner of season 9 beginning. And that's possibly when we'll get information if season 9's it, or we're going to get a 10th season to give us a whole decade worth of pony. To wait and see what's planned. But again, I don't think we'll get any information until between either BronyCon and BabsCon. We might get a hint or sliver of a clue between both Comic-Cons as well. But I think between this BronyCon and next year's BronyCon and BabsCon in the middle, the 3 major MLP conventions, that's when I think we'll get some kind of idea or clue of exactly where they're going with Friendship is Magic. That's the one I think we'll get some kind of clue. Mostly, like I said, between BabsCon and BronyCon of next year, and probably more so BabsCon. Because we'll be starting season 9, and what better way to really get people excited for that season than to probably announce that, hey, you got one more season after this, that if you think this season's good, it's going to be great. This 10th and final season, if that's what they're going to announce in the future, is going to be even better. So again, we'll have to find out. But like I was saying, getting back on topic here. Basically, when you look at it from my own personal theory, I think the most logical way that magic will basically be stopped from seeping into the equestrian human world is if Sunset goes back. And if you have that one true equestrian who is really a pony living as a human, going back to her origins, going back to her home world, more than likely the magic that's followed her will go with her. So that's a theory. That's a possible theory that I think as we get closer to the end of both series, they may just look into. Because one of the, sorry about that. I hit the filter there, but one of the things that a lot of fans want to see as we inch closer to the final year or 2 years of both programs, they're going to want to see Sunset meeting her actual human counterpart. Just like Twilight, at the end of, Friendship Games, met sort of in that, I wouldn't say post-credit scene, but before the credit scenes, she meets her human counterpart. Fans want to see Sunset meet her human counterpart before it's all said and done, and eventually, hopefully, that's going to happen. And what a moment that would be. And that might be the moment that triggers the next story, maybe movie or so for Equestria Girls that coincides with Friendship is Magic as one big event, to where Sunset would probably have to go back to the Friendship is Magic Equestria to probably save both worlds and to take any magic that's seeped into the human world back with her, because she's basically been that catalyst. She's been that electric rod that they've been all drawn to, that the magic's been drawn to ever since she's been in the human world. Again, it's just, these are just my theories, but I just feel that's possibly why you got this magic continually coming in. Like I said, you could have Sunset and her friends seal up all the cracks where the magic would seep into or seep out of from the Friendship is Magic world, but that won't prevent it from seeping in. It won't stop it. The only thing that probably will stop it is if Sunset goes back. Just an opinion, just a theory. I know some people would think you're kind of wrong on that. Here's the question. Am I wrong in that? I don't think I'm totally wrong on that possibility. I think honestly it is a strong theory. And again, like I said, I think it's one that the writers of the show, which are in a sense the same writers as Friendship is Magic, I think they would probably dig into. I really do. Now, when you look at some other theories, one theory that some fans have had, and one fan actually brought up, was, is the Equestria Girls world of My Little Pony the actual real world? Is it the actual real MLP world? In other words, it is the Equestria Girls world the prime world. Like, basically, this is the place where if it gets destroyed, everything else falls apart. Is that this world? And that's a good theory. Because for a lot of us longtime fans of animation, growing up in the 80s, the 90s, you name it, we would always assume that one world was always the prime world. For example, if you grew up on Ninja Turtles, and believe me, I grew up on them, if you watched the 2009, I think, the 2009 movie finale to the 2K3 series, the 2003 to 2009 series, if you watch the movie finale Turtles Forever, you basically find out that the original Mirage creation of the Turtles, the 1984 Turtles, the early 1980s Turtles, created by Peter Laird and Kevin Eastman, were depicted in the movie as being the prime Turtles. In other words, if they and their world gets destroyed, as we started to kind of see towards the end of the movie, then everything else that's connected, then all the other worlds that have the turtles in them, any other, existence of the Ninja Turtles would be wiped from existence. And then, in other words, all the dimensions involving that have turtles in them of any kind would be wiped off the map. In other words, total annihilation, total Armageddon. If the Mirage Studios, the black and white turtles of the early 80s, were destroyed and the world was destroyed along with them. So when somebody asked that question, so when I saw that somebody asked that question, if the Equestria Girls world was the prime world of MLP, that's not a bad question or theory to look into, because one of the things they pointed out was, as strange as it sounds, that everything was seen in Friendship is Magic, episodic wise, the movie, the two-parters, what have you, that according to their theory could be nothing more than Twilight Sparkle, the human Twilight, writing down these stories in her diary, writing them down as part of a book series that maybe she's distributing or something like that. I have to read it again. But basically, one fan theorized that it could be just Twilight writing down what's happened to them and kind of adding on more to it. I think they even compared the first Equestria Girls movie to the first 2 episodes of Friendship is Magic, which was called Friendship is Magic. And I don't think if you go and look at the theory, the comparison that they make, you can't really blame them for looking at it that way, because you have similarities to both stories. Both stories have similarities, especially with Twilight. You have them both facing a villain that kind of basically gets redeemed at the end. Well, in Sunset's case, it takes a whole sequel, Rainbow Rocks, to redeem her. And in Luna's case, it takes a whole freaking season to get a new redesign, and takes her basically a couple of episodes throughout the next several seasons to be fully redeemed. But the point is, when you kind of see what they're trying to say in comparison, the thought process isn't far off. Easy for me to say. Isn't far off when it comes to thinking that. Because as far as we know, it could be the prime world. We don't know that. We don't really know. But theory-wise, it's a good theory. From a theory perspective, it sounds like a good theory, and I can't fault them for thinking that. But if we were to look at a world of MLP being the prime world, and if the people of Friendship is Magic that work on Friendship is Magic and Equestria Girls was to go in this direction, then my theory is the prime world of MLP isn't Friendship is Magic, isn't Equestria Girls, it isn't Gen 3, and it damn sure isn't Gen 2. It's the first generation, that being Gen 1. That's the prime world. And if by theory, that is basically the heart of everything MLP. Without Generation 1 existing, there wouldn't be Generation 4. There wouldn't be Generation 2. There wouldn't be Generation 3 or 3.5. Or maybe even a Generation 5, period. There wouldn't be any of that if it wasn't for Gen 1. So theory-wise, if they wanted to capitalize on the fact that, hey, there are other MLP worlds out there, they could do a story down the line, crossover event, whatever, between all pony generations, just like Turtles Forever did, and you could have Twilight and her friends from both Friendship is Magic and Equestria Girls travel throughout all these dimensions and end up in the prime world of the original MLP. Because theory-wise, that would be where it all started. And if that, from a story perspective, suffers a fate of destruction, basically all generations, dimensions involving ponies would be gone, including Friendship is Magic and Equestria Girls. But again, when you read what some people theorize on that possibility of Equestria Girls being the actual prime world, it's not a bad theory. But in my honest opinion, my theory is Gen 1's the prime world, no matter how you look at it. And if they ever decide, like I said, to do a story involving Gen 1 as being the prime world, I think people would enjoy watching it. And I think it would make for interesting storytelling, especially if you use it maybe for a series finale for Gen 4. Who knows? But the theory that some people have on Equestria Girls being the prime MLP universe isn't a bad one. But I think the reason people wonder that is because even though the characters might be similar in some ways with a few differences here and there, it's like, I guess to them, it's like Equestria. What I'm trying to say is, I guess the reason they would think that is because it's like, even though the Humane 7, well, the Humane 6, with the exception of Sunset, because she pretty much knows it anyway, she's a pony, period. But the Humane 6, with 6 of the Humane 7, knowing that Sunset's from another world, along possibly with the principal and vice principal versions of Celestia and Luna and Cadence, with them knowing this, and then not, as well as possibly everybody else around them knowing this, it's like, certain events happen, like with Roller Coaster of Friendship, Forgotten Friendship, and so on, that even after certain events have occurred, it's like the rest of the cast, and even the main cast, don't acknowledge it. I mean, they might acknowledge it in passing or reference it, but it's like they just go on with their everyday lives, like, oh, well, we did that happened, whatever. It's like, to them, it happened, but then that's about it. To them, it's like, oh, well, it happened, and that's about it. So I can kind of understand why fans would have that theory: is this the real world? Is this the real prime world of MLP? Because they go through magical adventures at times, but then they just act like it happened and that's it. They don't even acknowledge sometimes, and well, Sunset probably does, but you kind of get the idea. They don't really acknowledge the Friendship is Magic world. So who knows? I mean, heck, one of the theories that this person brought out was Friendship is Magic could be looked at as a show in the equestrian human world instead of an actual different reality or different dimension, if you will. It could be looked at, I mean, I would like to see that. I would like to see an episode where Sunset is walking by and all of a sudden she's looking at the TVs displayed in the store somewhere, and all of a sudden she sees her friends on the TV screen from Equestria and thinking, what the heck is going on here? And then somebody comes by and says, oh, did you know that's My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic? It's a new show. That would be interesting to see. Because then it would kind of dawn on Sunset that, wait a minute, in this world, me and my friends are actually cartoon characters? So that would be interesting to see, and I can kind of see where this person would add in the theory of, oh, what if Equestria Girls is the real MLP universe, with certain things changed around to make it feel like that. Again, it's not a bad theory. It's not a bad theory whatsoever, but again, my theory is Generation 1's world, MLP universe, is the prime universe. That's what it is. And then if they do a story centered around that, centered around the fact that if the Gen 1 universe gets destroyed, then it's going to affect all other MLP universes. Hey, I'm there. I'm there to see that happen. I'm there to see that story unfold. So, but the theory is not a bad one. Theory is not a bad one. Again, like I said, the theory is not a bad one. What else? Well, let's take a look at friendship as magic, for example. Now, I have a theory about naysay here, and I've been thinking about this for a while. You know, we're always wondering why this naysay guy is so, this naysay pony, this unicorn naysay is so racist. I mean, he's powerful. He's powerful for just who he is, obviously. I mean, he's powerful enough to when he stomps his hoof down, it vibrates all over, shakes the ground and all that. It's like he's a freaking alicorn. And that could be. It could be a possibility. But not just that. Not just that. But the fact that he gets alerted so quickly after Twilight breaks his seal on the school of friendship. So you got to wonder, you know, why, so everybody has to wonder, why is this guy so racist, so specious towards all the other creatures, even though he can plainly see with his own eyes, in a sense, that perhaps Twilight's onto something, that perhaps these creatures don't really mean the harm that he believes they would cause. Because, okay, let me point it out like this. I'm trying to find the right words here. Naysay. I think one of the reactors on the latest Bronies React video for School Days said this best. Celestia should, right then and there, just fire the guy. Just go up there and say, look, I've had enough of your crap. You're no longer the head of the EEA. I'm going to get someone that's fair and just. You're out of here. But why doesn't she? I think there's a reason. I think there's a reason why she doesn't do it. And you guys may find this reasoning unique. You might. But my reasoning for her not doing that is there's something between her and Naysay. There's some kind of history between her, Naysay, and Luna. Possibly more so her and Naysay than anything. But what is that history? Well, remember when I said that he seems powerful for just to being a unicorn? What if he's actually an alicorn? An alicorn that didn't reach the status that Celestia did. That didn't get the opportunity to rule over Equestria like Celestia and Luna did. What if he's an alicorn that disguises himself as a unicorn and he's wearing this Doctor Strange-like outfit, as some people pointed out and well, basically people have said what I'm trying to say is, you know, what if he is an alicorn in disguise and he's wearing this Doctor Strange-like outfit to cover his wings? I'm just saying. Because think about this. He puts his hoof down like this and it vibrates. A normal unicorn has the magic to do certain things, but to do something like that, just what, a stomp and shake the whole freaking area? Cause a miniature earthquake, if you will? That guy seems to be more powerful than just your average unicorn. And my theory is he is an alicorn, but he's an alicorn that didn't get the opportunity or reach the status that Celestia and Luna did. Maybe he failed a course, maybe he failed a test, and maybe he's bitter about it. Who knows? Now you might say, well, then if he's bitter, why did he approve of Twilight School. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I said this in a video I recently did in response to Josh Scorcher's School Days review. I did a School Days discussion on it. I said basically that I believe he only approved Twilight School because he wanted to see it fail. Because think about this. When she was explaining to him in the EEA what her school was going to do, what did a lot of fans point out that he was doing? He was putting words in her mouth. She was saying one thing, and he was basically changing it up a little bit by putting other words in her mouth. Like when she's trying to say that, oh, it's going to benefit this, my school is going to benefit this for all creatures, and he's changing it up, saying ponies and this and that. You can't tell me that that's not someone that wants to see that's not someone that's just going to approve of something just because, hey, we got enough evidence or we got enough of the information we need to give them a chance with the school. You can't tell me that that isn't someone that only approved of it because they want to see someone fail. They want to see the person that wants to do this fail because they see them as someone that's not really prepared to be in the position that they want to be in, or even in the position they're currently in right now. Think about it this way. One of the things he points out, one of the things he mentions to her is that if she's going to run the school, her and her friends can't go off on adventures. And she tries to argue, or not argue, but kind of explain, that situation. But again, he's not letting her get her word straightly, and he's not letting her get a word in straightly. He's not letting her get a straight word in, period. So in my opinion, my opinion is I think he just set her up. He's basically in his mind is, okay, I know this is Celestia's pupil. I know she's done a lot for Equestria, and if not recently, but she shouldn't be where she's at. I don't believe she should be where she's at. I don't believe she should be a freaking princess. So I'm going to prove that she's not worthy of any of this, and that she's going to be a failure anyway. He probably had this all planned out. Well, I wouldn't say he had it planned out. I don't do anything, but the moment he probably figured out, I'll put it this way, the opportunity that he saw in front of him, he couldn't pass up. Now, you could say that's not true. Again, one of the things I pointed out in my other video was he made a surprise appearance during Friends and Family Day. Now, I will admit the one thing I didn't mention was Twilight invited him to Friends and Family Day, but she didn't expect him to show up when he did. It's like he took the invitation, but he decided to turn it into a surprise inspection instead of letting her know maybe when he was going to show up so she can have everything ready. That to me is the mentality of someone that wants to see someone fail. But the question is, why would he want to see Twilight fail? Why would he want to see someone that just saved Equestria, if not all the world, from the Storm King, and has done a lot of other heroic acts along with her friends? Why would he want to see her fail when he probably knows that she's capable of running this the way they want, or the way possibly they know she can if given the opportunity? Because he has a vendetta. And that vendetta has to center around Celestia. Here's my theory. Again, he seems very powerful for just being an average unicorn. But what if he's, like I say, what if he's an alicorn in disguise, and that outfit he's wearing is just hiding his wings? Now you might say, well, what's his connection with Celestia? Simple. What if Celestia, Luna, and Naysay were all students of Star Swirl at the same time? What if they were all, what if we find out they were all students of Star Swirl, along with maybe a few others, and Celestia and Luna proved to be the most, how do I put this, the most satisfactual out of the group. And when it came time to choose who was going to rule over Equestria as leaders, that he ends up choosing Luna and Celestia over him. Think about that. Think about that. Star Swirl, maybe not just Star Swirl, but think about this. Star Swirl was teaching Luna and Celestia. He was their mentor. But what if he wasn't the only one? What if they weren't the only alicorns, I'm saying, that were being mentored by him? We know of Stygian wanting to follow in his footsteps. Don't get me wrong about that. We know about that. But what if there was another one? What if Naysay was in that same category, that same group, that same class? And even though, just like Celestia and Luna, he was doing all of his assignments, handing in all of his assignments, doing all his homework, essays, you name it, practicing the spells that he was assigned to do, practice and stuff like that. What if this whole situation with Naysay is out of anger for the fact that Star Swirl chose Celestia and Luna over him to rule Equestria? All because maybe he miscast one spell that could have helped him be chosen to probably rule alongside them. In other words, you would have 3 rulers instead of 2, I should say. So what if it's that? My theory is, what if he's an alicorn in the disguise of a unicorn, and yet he's jealous. His whole anger issue towards Twilight and maybe everybody else is jealousy. What if that's the case? What if that's the case, guys? What if he's actually jealous of Celestia? What if that's the case? What if he's angry at the fact that Star Swirl chose her and Luna over him? And maybe, like I said, maybe we find out because he failed to cast a certain spell right, and that even though he finished maybe in the top 3 along with them, he was not chosen. Sorry, my finger at the filter there. He was not chosen. What if that's his reasoning? And knowing that Twilight is the pupil, the student, if you will, of Celestia, what if he's using, what if his plan initially was to approve of Twilight School because he knew she was going to fail possibly, or not do it the way they wanted? Because again, you go back to the fact that people point out that he was putting words in her mouth, instead of listening to what she was actually trying to say, that being Twilight. What if he is doing this? What if he was doing that and probably plans to do it again to get even with Celestia, and he's doing it through her student? Would make sense. It would actually make sense. And what if it runs deeper? What if it runs deeper to the fact that it's not just he's angry that Celestia and Luna got chosen over him, and like I said, he could have finished in the top 3 in the class but not get chosen. What if it's also something deeper? What if it has to do with the fact that maybe, just maybe, hear me out, he had a crush on Celestia? Think about it. We always hear about stories about how certain female characters or male characters get angry and they'll end up doing things that are antagonistic because another character, another male or female character who they had an interest in, they had a crush on, they had feelings for, neglected their feelings or didn't acknowledge the feelings. What if that also plays into this? What if that's also a reason they say is the way he is? You know, what if that's another reason he wanted to see Twilight fail? Just saying, that could be intriguing. I know people may not want to see that be one of the reasons, but what if that's part of it? Think about it. You can have Naysay finally confront Celestia, maybe after it's revealed that he's had a crush on her. He's basically been in love with her since the days as Star School students, and yet, despite all the times he tried to get her attention, even maybe leave her a note here and there, she never took the time to acknowledge it. And that only made him get angrier and angrier over time. And then when she and Luna got chosen over him, that was just the tip. That was just the icing on the cake. But then again, I know you're thinking, well, what about this whole racism deal? Here's the thing. His hatred could have manifested to the fact that, you know, he doesn't trust anybody but ponies. Think about that. Think about this. When he was a student, something probably could have happened. He probably found out his village got burnt down or something happened. We don't know. Something had to happen in his past. My theory is either something happened to his home village and the last thing he saw was a griffin and maybe a dragon, but he's not sure. The only thing he can think of is they destroyed his home, not thinking the other way around. Or his parents read him stories when he was a colt that scared him to the point that he developed a hatred for these other races. Or three, and this could play into the whole Star Swirl Celestia deal, as he was studying, he read up on all these mythical creatures, or not mythical, but he read up on all these other creatures, found out what they were capable of, and developed some kind of racism towards them. And basically, by reading up on them and finding out what they were capable of, developed some kind of racism towards them that way. Like, in other words, he's reading up on these griffins and what they can do, these changelings and what they can do, and all that. And he's like, no, we can't let these things be around us. These things can't exist. They can't be allowed to be around ponies. No. Maybe that's how his hatred started as well. And maybe that culminates or adds in to his hatred that grew because Celestia didn't acknowledge his feelings for her. And on top of that, Celestia and Luna got chosen to rule over Equestria instead of him. Again, I know it sounds strange. I know it sounds like a stretch, but I can't think of any other reasoning. I mean, why? Again, think about everything this character did in school days. He wouldn't let Twilight actually get a word in edgewise when she was doing her presentation. He put words in her mouth. He took the invite to show up at Friends and Family Day, but do it unexpectedly, surprisingly, without any notice or notification of when he was going to show up. And then immediately, instead of possibly giving Twilight a second chance to make up for what's happened, he shuts the school down. And when she basically, I mean, he even stops Twilight cold in her tracks when she goes up to him and says, hey, when I tell Celestia what you've done, he immediately cuts her off. Because why? Not only does he point out, well, the obvious in his opinion of what's happened, but he doesn't want to hear what Celestia would do because there's something there. There's got to be something there. And then think about his reaction when Celestia, at the end of school days, pointed out the similarities to what's happening then, or what's happening now, or at that moment, and what happened in the past with unicorns, Pegasus, and Earth ponies. The similarities. Think about it. Think about it. There's something there. My theory is we're going to find out at the end, towards the end, as this season progresses, we're going to find out more. We're going to find out probably more in Friendship University, and we're definitely going to find out more when we get to the finale. Because there's something there. There is something there, and I don't know what it is, but there is something there. Again, it's just my opinion. My opinion, guys. But I believe there is something there. And, I know some people might say, well, you're just exaggerating and all that. Maybe I am. But again, remember, these are my theories. These are my theories, and I'm just giving them to you guys as much as I can. I'm not saying that I'm right, and I'm not saying that I'm wrong. I'm just theorizing as to what I feel is a possibility. Because think about it. Why didn't he give her a second chance? Why did he basically tell her that when she said her school would protect Equestria, why did he say before leaving in a huff that why did he basically say or destroy it? Why didn't he walk back and go like, we shall see? In other words, still being ominous, but basically kind of saying, okay, we'll see if you're right. No, instead he says, or destroy it. Why? Because there's something there. We don't know what it is. But my theory as to what it could be, I think is on the dot. I really do. My theory as to what it could be is right on the dot. I don't think I could be wrong about that. I don't think I can be. Again, if I am, I am. But that's just a theory. It's just a theory, guys. It's just a theory. And we'll just have to wait and see what they do. But my opinion, there's something there. There's some kind of history. And hopefully we'll find out what that history is. Now, one last thing. One of the things that I've talked about in my more recent live stream before this, as well as in the other videos that I've talked about, and I do apologize if you watch them for the wind. I do apologize for the wind in the background. When Roller Coaster of Friendship came out, a lot of people's reaction to it, including one that I mentioned. In fact, she did a video, asking whether or not this ship was canon, which is Rarity Applejack. A lot of people started talking about it. In fact, one fan, as I mentioned before, was getting a little disinterested in Equestria Girls for a while. And then as soon as the latest specials started to come out, including this one, their interest was piqued again, more along the lines because there seems to be something here that a lot of people, even at the Equestria Daily forums and the MLP forums, are all talking about. And that's the shipping of Rarity Applejack and Fluttershy Rainbow Dash. And a lot of people look at how the moments between the characters are showcased, especially towards the end between Applejack and Rarity, in the photo montage, and when they forgive each other and apologize. It's like, and when they're singing together, it's like you can't really deny the evidence in front of you. And in the way, Fluttershy has her arms around Rainbow Dashes, it's like, okay, you can't argue what you see in front of you. So the question so the question a lot of people have is this an official canonization? Is it real? My theory, and I've pointed this out, and Anthony C., I want to thank him as well, Anthony Cannon, of the Riff Cafe and the Brony Analysis community. I want to thank him for his response on that video where I talked about, does Roller Coaster of Friendship acknowledge a ship in the Humane 7? Anthony basically said to me, or said in reply to me, that we could only hope that basically the writers secretly wanted to. And that's my theory. My theory is I think the writers know that we're in a day and age now to where these kind of situations, these kind of relationships and romances are unavoidable. And that sooner or later you have to address it in some shape or form. Now, one of the biggest topical issue, one of the more topical takes on this when it comes to the MLP franchise was in one of the recent Ponyfield mystery books, where it's pretty much acknowledged, and I think even one of the writers of the book acknowledges this, that Scootaloo's aunts are that she lives with are lesbians. And that is a major moment as far as the franchise goes. But as far as animation wise goes, did Roller Coaster of Friendship acknowledge it? Did Roller Coaster of Friendship go that route? And it's hard to say. I mean, it's very evident from what we see in there that they did go that route, but they're not coming out and saying it. And my theory is, like I said, I think the writing staff, which is pretty much, as I've said before, the same writing staff that works on both programs, both shows, I think the writing staff knows that they're in this day and age now to where this kind of situation is out there. These kind of romances and ships and all that are out there. And this is coming from a straight Christian, born-again Christian, a straight-up born-again Christian, if you will, who is straight. No offense to the LBTGQ community. No offense to the LBTGQ community, but I am as straight as can be, no doubt about it. And so is a lot of the male brony fans out there that like Friendship is Magic and even Equestria Girls. But as I was saying, I think even the writing staff, my theory is the writing staff knows this. They know this, and in a way they want to acknowledge it. But they have to, as I've said before and I'll say again, they have to kind of remember that at the end of the day, Friendship is Magic and Equestria Girls are meant for young kids. And that even though Equestria Girls has a Y7 rating, and even though Friendship is Magic has a TVY and at times TVY7 rating as well, and the same can go for Equestria Girls. They also have TVY or TVY7, depending on the story or the situation. Influx, basically the ratings are kind of back and forth. Sometimes the TVY, some episodes are TVY, and some episodes of specials are TVY7. Go figure. Beginning back on point here. Like I said, even though the writers pretty much know that we're in this time frame of where all this is happening, and they want to pretty much acknowledge, that community, that LBTGQ community. At the end of the day, they have to remember that this is a kids show, and that kids, from what they will be told, even if they bring it up in a meeting saying that, you know what, the older fans are going to know exactly what this means. In that meeting, in that same meeting, they may be told, oh, that, yeah, the older fans may see it that way, but the younger fans, in which these shows are originally meant to be targeted for, will not. They'll look at it as or they'll look at it as, oh, they're just friends, and that's how best friends kind of acknowledge the closeness as friends, or whatever. That's pretty much what they get told, that at the end of the day, they got to remember both Equestria Girls and Friendship is Magic are meant for kids, and that kids won't entirely, think of Rarity and Applejack being a couple. They'll just think of it as, oh, they're just friends holding hands and hugging each other and, being very, and showing the closeness and all that. And yet you'll have older fans like me, in my generation, whether the fans are older than me or a little younger, or maybe even in college and high school, that will see otherwise. That will basically say, yeah, you could say that this, you could basically say that, the young generation, the young audience is going to see it as they're just acknowledging the close friendship and all that. But we could see it as being otherwise. And my theory is that what Anthony C. said to me in response is true. I believe the writers secretly want it too. They secretly want to make some of the characters in Equestria Girls and Friendship is Magic items. They want to make it happen. Lyra and Bonbon pretty much started the whole freaking thing that carried over to Equestria Girls. They dedicated a short to that. Heck, they have Lyra and Bonbon together all the time. You had, the big breakdown. You had a scene in there where during Hearts and Hoofs Day, their Valentine's Day, if you will, you have Lyra and running up to Bonbon, Bonbon running up to Lyra, and both exchanging Valentine's Day or Hearts and Hoofs gifts and embracing. And it's like a lot of people pointing that scene out and going like, yeah, Hasbro, tell us that this is not Yuri. This is not lesbian. They're not lesbians or something like that. They're not a couple. Come on, tell us that's not true. And this is during Hearts and Hoofs Day, a romantic holiday. Come on. Honestly, I think, in my opinion, guys, that my theory again is my theory is in agreement with what Anthony C. told me. That I think the writers secretly want to do it. They want to have these. They want these. Here's the thing. My theory. I know I say that a lot, so I do apologize. But my theory here, when you get down to it, I think the writers would love nothing more than to do an episode and a special on both ends of the spectrum, Friendship is Magic and Equestria Girls, where this is addressed, where the lesbianism, LBTGQ situations are addressed. That's what they would love to do. They would love to come out and probably do a special for Equestria Girls where Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy acknowledge, yeah, we are an item, we're a couple. And maybe the same with Applejack and Rarity. Who knows? And again, they would love to do that with Friendship is Magic. They would love to have, an episode to where you have Lyra and Bonbon come out and admit, hey, we're an item, we're a couple. They would love to have it to where Starlight and Twilight would come out and say, you know what? We've gone beyond being friends. Now we're an item. Or something like that. They would love to see that. Heck, they would love to see the human Lyra and Bonbon do that. That's my theory. My theory is I think they would like to do that. But the problem is, they're under the jurisdiction of Hasbro and DHX. And at the end of the day, they're basically reminded that these are meant for kids and that young kids are not going to understand that. Adult fans will, fans in college and in high school will, but to them, the young kids won't. And maybe that's true. But my theory, again, is I think they would like to come out and do something. They would like to address it. Heck, I even mentioned in the last live stream that it took basically, a couple days, weeks, months before the co-creators, directors, writers of Legend of Korra came out and acknowledged what a lot of fans pretty much knew from the get-go, especially towards the end of the series, that Korra and Asuma, I think that's her name, or Asumi, were an item. They pretty much confirmed it after the show was over. And as I said there, and I'll say again, if that's the case here, and we have to wait until both Friendship is Magic and Equestria Girls are all said and done for the writers to come out and say, yeah, you were right about this, you were right about that, your confirmation about Celestia of Lyra and Bonbon being a lesbian couple, or in Friendship is Magic and Equestria Girls, yes, that is true. That was pretty much true, a reality the whole time. Or if they would have come out and say something like, yeah, what we did in Roller Coaster of Friendship pretty much was to acknowledge that Rarity and Applejack are an item. Same with Flutterdash, which is Fluttershy Rainbow Dash. If it's going to take towards the end of the series, and if it's going to take, I should say, the end of both series till after, I should say, the end of both series for the writing staff and the creators of certain episodes and the writing staff overall that worked on certain episodes to come out and say that, and like I said, acknowledge that, yeah, this was true, the Lyra Bonbon thing, and all that, so be it. They got to wait until the show's over so they will have a little bit more freedom to say, yes, this is true, what you pretty much felt out and talked about and confirmed in your own opinions was indeed true, then we'll have to wait. But like I said before, the only way we'll ever get answers is from that writing staff. And like I said, if it takes till the end of it takes till after both series are over, then so be it. I think it's logical that that's probably what's going to happen. I think it's very logical that's probably what's going to happen. Now, as far as romance goes in the main show, we know there's a romance in development, but the thing is, getting around to it, that's the tricky part. You see, a lot of us, believe it or not, there's still a lot of us out there that support Sparity. Heck, even after Meltdown, people drew pictures of Rarity and Spike kissing each other on the lips or looking lovingly into each other's eyes and embracing because they continue to support this ship. It's like this ship has been around since day one of the show. And now we're 8 seasons in. And yeah, you've gotten a few acknowledgments here and there, teases, references, whatever. Meltdown being the latest one. The upcoming Father Knows Beast may be another. But, it's been 8 years. And I think a lot of people have said it best. Something has to be done. But getting around it's the biggest question. Not the biggest question, but it's the biggest obstacle. How do you get around to making these two an item that's not, well, it is probably going to get some people a little teeved or a little peeved, if you will. It's going to get them a little critical about the episode and where it happens, about the moment itself. But again, guys, we're talking about a fan base that got critical over Twilight going alicorn on us back in season 4. We're talking about a fandom that's pretty much been catered to in season 5 and was basically given the big, if you know what I mean, by the writing staff last season. Last season, with Fame and Misfortune. We're talking about a fandom that's in Slice of Life, like I said, we're given praise and given a thank you, but in season 7, with Fame and Misfortune, we're given the big middle you-know-what. And again, like I said, this is a fandom that got pretty much upset at the fact that Twilight got alicornified at the beginning of season 4. This is a fan base that wants to know whether Applejack or Pinky are related. So on and so forth. This is a fan base that supports all kind of different ships, even if they're officialized or they're not officialized. So when you get down to Sparity, which is Spike and Rarity, that's a ship that's been in the making for nearly a decade, and something has to be done. And whether or not we have a 9th season coming or a 10th season coming, it has to be addressed. And all the fans know this a lot, and all the fans know this, whether they support the ship or they don't. And even the writing staff knows this, whether it's, despite the changes behind the scenes of writers and creative directors and all that, they know this. So the question is, how do you get around it? Well, I think Father Knows Beast, in my opinion, might be an indication of getting around it, but we'll have to wait and see what they got planned. But my theory is that down the line, we're going to get an episode. Whether it's Father Knows Beast or it's something that takes place in season 9, maybe teased in the upcoming Christmas special. But we're going to get a moment to where pretty much it's going to get acknowledged that these two do care about each other, that Rarity cares about Spike just as much as he cares about her. And that the moment that he was about to leave Ponyville in Father Knows Beast was basically her wake-up call. Maybe we'll get something like that. Maybe we'll get a moment as depicted in a webcomic that I read, which I do recommend you guys read, where Spike drank a potion made a potion, drank it, and it temporarily turned him into a pony so he could spend time with Rarity, and yet she finds out almost immediately that it is him, disguised as a pony. And the way that story plays out works out perfectly to make that relationship a reality. So my theory is we're going to get something similar. We're going to get something to where Father Knows Beast is referenced. Here's my thing. We're going to get something in Father Knows Beast that's going to sort of be like a starting point. It'll probably get nodded to or acknowledged in the finale, in the season finale, as well as in the Christmas special. And then season 9 comes around. My theory is we're going to get an episode to where Rarity's going to realize that she cares for Spike, that what happened in Father Knows Beast has opened up her eyes, and she's realized she cares about Spike more than she ever thought, and she cares about him more than just as a friend, and that after all this time, all these suitors that despite and that after all this time, despite all these different suitors that she would try to go after, and would basically dump her, if you will, or ignore her, or use her as a human shield to not get dirty, she's going to realize that Spike was always there for her. He's always been helping her. To me, they're going to do some. To me, that's my theory. My theory is we're going to get an episode like that come around season 9, maybe even season 10 if we get a 10th season. But again, we don't really know. We don't really know if we'll get that, but I'm assuming that we have to get something in the long run. That if the show has one more season or 2 more seasons, a season and a half or 2 seasons and a half to go, we have to get something in the long run. And my theory is Father Knows Beast is going to be the starting point. And then we're just going to go from there. Sorry about that. My cable company decided to do a little maintenance. Yeah, they decided to do maintenance. How do I know? Because they had a thing on here that said out of service Wi-Fi. So thank you very much, Xfinity, for doing that. Not appreciated. But I do apologize for that, folks. I do apologize for that happening. Let me just check something here. Okay, it's still going on, thank God. But yeah, they decided to do maintenance in the middle of this. Oh, we're going to do maintenance right now. Sometimes I wish they would just come out and say, hey, we're going to do maintenance in a few days. So, you mind not doing anything? So, yeah, they decided to do some maintenance. Again, thank you, guys. Thank you. Really appreciate that. But anyway, like I was saying, I truly believe it's my theory is that they're going to find a way around this, and that basically that what I feel is going to happen is they're basically going to, like I said, they're going to find a way around this, and it's going to start with Father Knows Beast. I really think it will. Now, just in case you guys missed what I was saying before I got interrupted there, my theory, first of all, on the writers and everything, my theory on the writers is basically, I think what Anthony C. told me is true. I think secretly they want the ship to happen themselves. They want to see these lesbian ships happen. But at the end of the day, they have to be constantly reminded that this is still a kid's show. And that as much as they would like to make it happen, do an episode to where the characters acknowledge, hey, we're together kind of deal, on both fronts, Friendship is Magic and Equestria Girls. They got to remember at the end of the day, there are a lot of adult fan. There's a lot of young, well, not a lot, easy for me to say, not a lot of young fans, but basically they got to be reminded that at the end of the day, a lot of young fans, from what they'll be told, will not understand it. For all they know, these are just friends confirming their closeness as BFFs. And that's about it. Even though adult fans like myself, those older than me, younger than me, in high school, college, maybe even junior high, will pretty much know otherwise. And my theory is, like I said, I believe the writers secretly want to make this a reality. They want to do something that acknowledges this moment right now in time. Because, as I said before any interruption happened here, as a straightforward born-again Christian who is as straight as can be, and there's a lot of straight born-again Christians out there as well that are part of the Brony community, Brony and Pegasus community. With all due respect, when I say this, the writers want to acknowledge the LGBTQ community. And even straightforward, like I said, straight fans like myself, born again Christians like myself, or whatever religion you believe in, if we can pretty much see exactly what's in front of our faces, then possibly in my theory, like Anthony C mentioned to me, pretty much see that the writers want to see this happen as well, then why doesn't it? Why doesn't it happen? And again, it's because the writers have to be constantly reminded, at the end of the day, this is a kids show and young kids may not understand it. They may not get it, if you will. So there's that reasoning. So again, I do apologize for the interruption there. Again, like I said, my cable provider decided to do a maintenance check, if you will, on the internet. They decided to do a maintenance check. Anyway, getting back to what I was saying about Sparity. We've had, since day one of the series, this ship being teased. We've had moments from Secret of My Success in season 2. Season 5 has had moments. Season 4 has had moments. Season 3, in a sense, has had moments. Season 6 has had moments. Season 7, in a way, has had moments. Heck, even the movie has had moments. And I did a video on that as well. Point is what I'm getting at. Is when my point is, with what's happened in all those seasons prior, and then what's happened so far in this season and what's to come, the biggest thing that prevents, the thing is, what I'm saying is that the writers have to find a way to get around this. Like, they have to find a way to get around the obstacle around this major obstacle to make this happen. And in my opinion, my theory is they will. My theory is this is all going to start it's all going to start with Father Knows Beast, which is going to be this year, which is an episode this season. It's going to get continued and referenced in the holiday special, the Christmas special at the end of the year. And then come season 9, we're going to get an episode, whether it's early on, in the middle, towards the end. We're going to get an episode to where what happened in Father Knows Beast will be referenced and acknowledged. We're going to get an episode that pretty much has Rarity realize that she cares about Spike more than she's ever thought that she cares about Spike more than she ever thought. And that she cares about him more than just as a friend. It's pretty much what's going to happen. In my opinion, my theory is they're going to build to an episode in season 9, maybe even season 10, depending if we get a 10th season, that's going to have Rarity realize, and again, moments like what happened in Father Knows Beast, Meltdown, and even in previous seasons are going to probably get acknowledged, and she's going to realize that she cares about Spike more than just as a friend. And that there's going to be a moment where she's going to realize that all these suitors that she was trying to pursue in the past that have acted arrogant towards her, jerks, self-absorbed, and even have used her as a pony shield not to get dirty, she's going to realize that her real true knight in shining armor has always been Spike. And I think when you look at this season and how one of the topics that gets tackled upon, especially at the beginning, is racism, speciesism, you can't tell me that won't play a role in Spike and Rarity officially being together before the show's out. Because you don't just tease something like this from the very beginning, have moments throughout the past 7-8 years, and not want to build upon it, or finally have it come to a climax, if you will, and make it official. You don't do that kind of stuff if you're not planning on making something like this official. You don't do that kind of stuff and just decide to toss it to the wayside. My opinion is I think they're going to make it official. I think my opinion and my theory is they're going to find a way to make this happen. And like I said before the interruption, you know, I understand there might be a lot of fans in the Brony and Pegasus community that will be critical about it. But again, like I said before the interruption, this is the same community that got upset about Twilight going alicorn, being alicornified, if you will, easy for me to say, alicornified in season 4. This is the same community that got praised and thanked with Slice of Life in season 5. And this is the same community that got bastardized somewhat in season 7 last season with Fame and Misfortune. You know, so bringing Spike and Rarity together, yeah, it might cause some criticism, but if it's done in a way that makes it understand that, but if it's done in a way that fans can accept and be like, okay, we could see why you did it now, we could see how you made it official, then who's to say they made the wrong decision? Because again, because the one rule in any show, whether it's live action, animation, what have you, the one rule is you don't build up a relationship or tease a relationship for as long as you have with Spike and Rarity and not culminate and not bring it to culmination after such a long while. I mean, you had Spike go through his change. Why have him go through the change? Yeah, puberty and all that, but still. So my theory is around season 9, season 9, and possibly season 10, if we get a 10th season, this relationship is going to be officialized. I really feel that's what's going to happen. And again, I know many bronies and Pega sisters may not agree with it, but you know what? If it's done correctly, if it's done right, I think fans will accept it. I think they'll accept it, especially if you kind of start referencing it or building towards it at the end of Father Knows Beast. If Rarity's involved in that, in which she's gonna be, you can't tell me she won't be. If they're gonna start building upon it there, then hey, again, I'm all for it. You build towards it. You use the episode in season 9 or even season 10 to look back on all those moments. You have a reasoning, and you pretty much, along with whatever story or plot you have in mind, to make it to culminate with them being an item. So be it. My theory is they're going to find a way. My theory is they're going to find a way to acknowledge it and make it official somewhat in season 9 or 10 if we get a season 10. And my theory is it's going to start being built upon after Father Knows Beast and continued on, even referenced in the holiday Christmas special. I really do. And don't tell me you won't see a moment in that Christmas special where Rarity won't kiss Spike under the mistletoe, because it's going to happen. And maybe he'll kiss her in return. So there you go. Don't think that won't happen, because it will. But yeah, the way I look at it is, it's gone on this long. I think the time is now for them to at least acknowledge and make this couple official. I think it's time. And again, you could agree with it happening or not happening, but you know what? You tease it from the very beginning to now. Yeah, something's got to give, and I think what's gonna give is them being an item. I really do. I really do. So how about that? So that's my opinion on it. Now, one other thing that I saw CCN Network. He did a video back in February of his top, what was it, top 5, top 10 MLP ships or something like that. I'd go look back. But his number one ship that he put up there was Starlight and Spike. And I want to address that. If there's anything between Starlight and Spike, I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm not saying that if the writers decide not to put Spike with Rarity, that they decide, hey, let's put him with Starlight instead. I'm not saying that what he mentioned about, the reasoning as to why it's more plausible isn't a good reason. But it seems to me they're setting up Starlight to be with Sunburst. I mean, the story's there, everything is there to make that happen. But am I against Starlight Spike? In response to CCN Network, no, I'm not. I'm not against it. I mean, I do agree that if they decide not to go the Rarity Spike route, Starlight Spike could be a better option, because it would seem that Starlight would be played up as the kind of character that would be a little bit more receptive to possibly being with someone like Spike. Like, maybe she'll understand where he's coming from, and everything, and then realize, hey, we have a lot in common. Maybe there's something there, who knows? And maybe there's a moment in the series down the line to where, Spike ends up in a situation to where he has to hit, someone has to kiss him on the lips, or kiss him somehow, or give him a kiss on the cheeks or the lips to revive him, or to do something. And even though Rarity would probably be up to doing it, Starlight ends up being the one that does it, and we find out that the kiss basically has to come from someone that truly, deeply cares about Spike, as if he was the boyfriend or something like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do a scenario with Starlight and Spike, with Starlight involving Spike down the line. I wouldn't be surprised if they did something like that. I'm not saying they will, and I'm not saying it won't. But here's my theory. My theory is this. If they don't go the Spike Rarity route and they decide to go Starlight Spike, I can see him doing an episode possibly in season 9 where Spike with Starlight probably spends time with Spike, goes on a friendship mission with him, and then they realize they have a lot in common. And maybe there's a moment in there to where they end up having to dance with each other because the scene calls for it, the story calls for it. They have to dance with each other, or maybe there's a moment to where they end up getting pushed right into each other by 2 other ponies or whatever, and they end up locking lips. That could happen. We don't know. So my theory is, if we get any kind of scene or moments like that with Starlight and Spike, it'll be because they'll be put on a friendship mission together. I think that'd be the only reasoning. So, that's pretty much how I see that happening, and any kind of nod or indication to Spike and Starlight, Star Spike, if you will, or Spike Light, if you will. That's the only way I see it happening. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say on my theories as far as Friendship is Magic and Equestria Girls go. Thank you all for watching live. Let me see if there's anybody in the live stream, anybody's watching. And again, I do apologize for that abrupt interruption. I told you guys it was something like that was gonna happen, and it did. It did. So I do apologize for that. And there's no one in the live chats. Of course, it's early. But again, I do apologize for that, for those updates happening when they did. Hopefully it didn't affect the stream too much, because I was able to get back on it. But I just wish companies like Xfinity, AT&T, Verizon, and all of them would let us know in advance when they're going to do this. So anyway, though, that's all I'm going to say, guys, and that's all I'm going to say on my live theories. Hope you guys liked it, and let me know what you think down in the comment sections. And again, like I said, these are just my live MLP theories on what's been going on in Equestria Girls and Friendship is Magic, and what possibly could come and what could be the outcome. And certain things happening. These are just my theories. You can agree with them and then you not agree with them, but they're just my theories. So let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like. I'd like to hear from you guys, and I will talk to you later. I got to get some rest, maybe just for about an hour or so before I have to get up for work. So peace out. God bless.